Hi, guys. Welcome back to Cupcakes and Protein Shakes. I am your host, Savannah, and we are doing an episode where we're going to sit down with a fellow King girl. She's going to share all of her secrets to the stage. So, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you. Please introduce yourself and then tell me where you're at right now.
Hi, I'm Colleen DiVito. I live in Massachusetts, just north of Boston, and I'm really excited to be here with you and chatting with you today.
I know. Well, take me to now. What are you doing now? Are you in an off season? Are you in an improvement season? What are you working on right now?
Right now, I am in an off season, so I earned my pro card in November, and so I am in off season right now and looking to compete in September.
Of this year?
Yeah.
And that'll be pro debut.
Well, I'm going to try to get on stage once before that, maybe a few weeks before. So I compete in the OCB,
Mhm.
and by earning my pro card in November, I qualified for the Yorton Cup, which is in September. So I have to, that feels to me like a chance of a lifetime, and I can't pass it up. So
Yeah.
just gonna back into it from, everything from there.
Okay. All right. Well, where did your journey start? Like, what did fitness look like before you kind of found bodybuilding? When did this all happen? Where was the beginning of your journey?
Sure. So I, all my life from the time I was a little girl, actually took ballet and tap and jazz and all of that. And I even did that into my adult life. But then, married, had kids, things changed. So I would work out wherever I could. But I was always missing something. I always missed that being on stage. I always missed just having a passion for something. And I really liked the things I was doing, whether it was a bar class or, a hit class. But finally, in March of 2020, because I was about to turn 50 that month, I said, I need to get back into something. And I joined this fitness studio right in my town. And I walked in, and I'll never forget this conversation because I walked in, I met with the owner because they were doing a 6-week fitness nutrition um, program. And I just was out of shape, needed to lose a little bit of weight. And so I'm like, this is perfect for me. And he said, do you like HIIT classes? Do you like lifting weights? I said, love the classes, absolutely hate lifting weights, which I chuckle as I think back on that, today. Um, so I did that 6-week program, and I started, and a week and a half later, COVID happened, and everything was shut down. So everything was online. So I was doing classes, the nutrition was still happening, and I was still plugging away. And then to get back into the studio, they couldn't have classes yet, but they could do one-on-ones. So they were offering like a 10-pack of weightlifting, one-on-one training sessions. And I said, I really don't like lifting weights, but I'm going to do this just to get back in the studio.
Yeah.
And I actually just fell in love with it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. COVID was a crazy time. Like, I still
Oh,
thinking back, I'm like, was that real? Was that actually like a thing that we all had to deal with? And like fitness looked way different. And so like home workouts, I had never in my whole life ever done a home workout. Like, and then suddenly it's like, okay, this is the only option. If you want to work out, you got to figure out how to do it. And so that started progressing and to now. You found that in 2020. So over the past, what, 3 years ish, almost 4 years, you've been
almost four.
working towards pro status and it finally happened in November. So where
Yeah.
did that first prep switch start where it's like, okay, we're going to take this to the next level? Like what made you just decide like this is it?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I had never even thought of a bodybuilding competition or
Yeah.
seen one or anything. And a trainer at the gym kept saying to a few of us, you have to do this. And I said, you crazy. Do you know how old I am? Like you are absolutely off your rocker. And eventually wore us down, and a couple of us did it. And I just fell in love with it because I missed being on stage with ballet and dance. And it was a way to get out there. And it was nerve wracking, but the first prep was, I think we started in August of 21 and competed in November.
Okay. So that was the first time. And like going through prep, What did you expect it to be like? And then actually going through it yourself, like what was your experience going through the first prep?
Yeah. So I think I really had no idea, right? So our coach was explaining what it was, and I thought, oh, this sounds really, really hard. Like, really requires a lot of discipline. I'm not sure if I can do this. In my head, I knew I had the ballet discipline. In my head, I knew I got through the nutrition, program, ended up getting back down to my high school weight. So I knew it was going to be hard, but then when you combine the nutrition with all the workouts, it was a lot. And working full time and being a mom of two boys, it was a lot. So it
Yes.
was I think what was so important to me was being able to go through that first one with another woman so that you have somebody that's doing this for the first time, which helped because I'm like, are you starving? Because I'm hungry, but I
Yeah.
can eat soon. Um, so that was really, really helpful. And our coaches were great. They answered all the questions and helped us through it.
Yeah, prepping with like a prep buddy, it's really helpful because then suddenly like you're not suffering alone. Like even if you have to, you can't work out together, you can't do your cardio together, you can still, send a text or get on a call and like, hey, I'm having a struggle bus day. Are you doing okay? And you kind of motivate each other and like celebrate it. And then you kind of get to the end and it is a fun celebration. Like when you start to do it with other people, it helps. Because at the beginning of my journey, I did it not knowing anyone, never anything. And so it felt like, oh my gosh, like I'm suffering. This is real hard. And then you get to show day and you go, oh, all these girls did the same thing too. Okay, I get it. I get, okay, this makes sense. There's more of us out there. This is like a thing. Everyone suffered. It's not easy. It wasn't just me. And
Right.
you guys got to experience show day together. So going to your first competition, were you, I think you were excited because your background to get on stage, but for the first time, I know there's a lot of nerves. So, what about show day? Was there anything that you wish you would have known about show day specifically that you didn't like, we weren't prepared for?
Honestly, I was not prepared for how many people were actually there. And it was actually a good thing that I wasn't prepared for it, but I was really shocked at how supportive all the women were of each other. Right. And to me, that camaraderie, I was like, this is it. I love this. Like, I found my place, like backstage, because you're right. Like, first time, I would always get butterflies when I was dancing, but first time going out there doing, poses that you've been practicing and trying to get that muscle memory going, but still so nerve-wracking. I remember shaking the first time out, right? And so I think that was exciting. And the other thing that I'm really glad that I did was I'm glad that I didn't just compete and debut, right? Coach was like, you're prepping for this. Get out on stage as many times as possible. And that's what I tell to any new competitor I meet backstage now in any competition, get out there, go on stage as many times because the shakiness and the nerves subside a little bit each time you get out there, and it just gives you such a confidence, I think, by the last time you're up there on the stage.
Yeah, I always tell like my posing girls, they're not really sure. Sometimes you're not sure what division you fit into or category. I'm like, do them all, do every single thing out there, get up 6, 7, 8 times. Because, after you do your first time, you can't really be a novice forever. You can't be true novice forever. You can't be in your debuts. It's like you only get kind of one shot at this, but like go out there and then they'll keep bringing you up and then you'll get more and more and more comfortable. So as much stage time as you can take and you work so hard for it. And you like, I didn't realize, I think at the beginning how short it felt. Like the prep is long, but then you get to show date and it is one day, right? It's like, oh my gosh, it's one day and it's over. And I looked forward to this for, 4 to 6 months, and now it's here and it's gone within a blink of the eye. And that's it. Now what? So when you're up there, it does kind of feel like, you know, it's long on the stage, but then the whole day you get, it's Sunday. Oh my gosh, that 4 to 6 months or however long you prep, like it was so fast. when you guys were on stage, or you and your like friends for this, how did like did you place? Like how did that show actually go? Was there like medals? Did you have feedback?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so I actually ended up winning debut
Mm,
when I went out there. I came in I think third and 50 plus and placed there. Didn't place in open, but I didn't come in last. So I was really happy about that because the other thing that was really humbling for me is again my first by the time I got on stage I was 51. And you're out there in open against they're standing next to a 20-year-old, right? And everyone's worked hard and everyone looks amazing. And I
yeah,
think that's what I loved. I think it was just such a nice camaraderie with all of the women and just saying like you really it doesn't matter how old you are. You know, I always say it really is never too late and you are not too old. And yeah, so I was really pleased with how I placed. And of course, you know, when I danced and did ballet, I didn't get a medal. So it was really exciting to get a trophy.
yeah, I know.
Have
Like,
that little piece of hardware to just remind yourself of what you accomplished because it really was a journey to get on there on that
yeah.
stage.
And so this is 2021.
Yeah.
So when was the next show after that? Or were you in an off season? Like what did you do after the show?
So competed again in March, which was pretty quick. So didn't really have an off season, right? Just kind of reversed and then kind of went back down. And honestly, that March show, I had so much going on in my life, like we all do, right? I mean, whether it's kids, work, whatever. And I did, it was a horrible showing. I was not pleased at all. I almost stopped competing, right? Because I got up there and I'm like, that was terrible. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm 51 and not going to do this. Or I turned 52 the day before, actually. And then after a couple of days, the sting wore off. And I'm like, no, get back out there, right? It doesn't mean a thing. And I think that's another piece of advice that I'd give women is that it can be frustrating. It depends on who the judges are. It depends on who you're standing next to. And there's always someone working harder than you. So um, you know, I think that's a hard part of this sport to be able to realize that you can do great one time and the next maybe not so much. But as long as you're working hard for you, and that's what I think I realized in that March competition. I'm like, I'm not doing this for everyone else. I'm doing this for me. I need to prove to myself that I can get back out there and do well again. And so I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah, that's good to hear because there is points where if you just focus on like how you do from time to time, especially, like bikini, it's like, there's picking whoever they want. Like there's criteria, but at a certain point, like it is who they just prefer that day. It's not necessarily a collection of who worked harder. And I feel like that was a really big struggle at the very beginning to understand. Like I used to play sports, so I would get like the most points win. That's
Mhm.
it. And it made sense. But there's no refs in bodybuilding. There's judges, but there's no like refs like show day. There's not like you don't get like a red flag for not hitting a correct pose, or you're not getting points for how, I don't know, your lipstick looks, but it's just an overall package of like, okay, who had it, who had the factor this day and was really confident, and we kind of just went with her because she just had it. That's really it. It's really hard. It's like everyone looks amazing because you've just prepared for months and months and months, but it's not necessarily clear who worked harder, who like it's just subjective. The judges don't know anybody. You get there and they just kind of go, "Oh, we like this one today." And it's hard because you have to sit with it because, on the behind the scenes, we're battling every week. Our lives were busy, so it feels like when we get there, I should deserve this win, or but it's hard to just sit back and like realize, okay, I got to stop doing this for other people. And I'm glad that you found that out early because it took me a little while. You can't do it for anybody else. Can't do it for the judges. Can't do it for your coach. You can't do it for anybody. You have to do it for yourself. If you don't do it for yourself, like it's going to be a rough sport to to try to just to show up for other people. And this made you almost want to quit, but then you decided to come back again. So after 2022, did you compete again that year, or did you wait till the next year?
I did compete again. So in November of 22. And I felt great. I had a great, I did a little bit of a build phase in between and worked on my posing, right? Because feedback from the judges, I think, is great. I think it's fantastic that they're willing to do that. And when you can get it, it's great. And just listening to, you need a little more size, or, your posing needs some work, which of course, you're just starting out and you can practice all you want, but if you're practicing correctly, that's not going to get you anywhere. So I did compete in November, and I placed, I think, in every class that I competed in, which was exciting for me. And I ended up winning novice. And then I had to go head to head with another woman for overall winner. And that I was not prepared to do that at all. And the other one won, and she was amazing. I was like, she deserves to win. And what I loved was everyone backstage in every competition was so supportive and complimentary, no matter who came in first, second, or whatever you placed, was great. So I did compete in November 22, and the feedback there was that I had come a long way, but I still needed to build a little bit of size and work on my posing. So from that point, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take a year. So I finally took the time, I think, which was also hard to do because you love being on stage, but the reality is you can't be stage ready all the time, right? You get there and then you've got to get, your body back in sync. And so I think that was hard taking the year off, but it was so worth it.
Yeah, it is. And I'm really on the opposite side, where I'm in the middle of an improvement season, and I had competed for so long, and I had been lean for way too long that I thought it was achievable. It's like, I've been lean for a long time. I think I can maintain this forever. And it's not the case. It's not the case. So stage lean, the way I've been thinking about it lately is stage lean should be a vacation. Like your body's going on a vacation to stage lean, but you want to get back home. So that's like where your body's home. It's comfortable. Your hormones are home. Everything is balanced, right? It's fun. Vacation, I have a great time, right? It's so much fun. It's glamorous. You're having the time of your life. You look good in everything. But when you're at home, that's where you need to be for your body. And it's the same thing for if it goes the opposite direction. If you're too deep in the off season where you've gained a little bit too much, well, you might just be going on a little bit of a fluffy vacation, and you'll get back home. It just takes time. Initially after the show, like that whole reverse diet, it's a mental reverse of, okay, scales going down, scales going up. How am I dealing with everything? And then once you start to get settled in it, you're able to actually put that focus into the gym and the improvements that you're supposed to make, and then really start to get excited again to go to the gym to work towards it. So that gave you a full year, and obviously it paid off, which is it's great. Like you thought it would be what you needed, and that's exactly what it was. So during that year, like, how did you stay motivated? What were you doing just to kind of keep focus?
Sure. I think for my first challenge was really the whole eating so much more and getting to that fluffy. And I love that analogy of going on vacation. It's really true. You do have to think of it as just this part of, point in time, and that you're not going to be there forever. So I think in the beginning, the gaining the weight and getting to that fluffy phase was hard because you're like, wait a minute, where'd my abs go? They're kind of there, but that was really hard. But I also just kept reminding myself, and my coaches are great, right? They kept reminding me, you're doing this to gain more muscle, and look at the weights that you've increased over time. And I think that's how I stayed motivated, is in that reverse phase, going into the gym, seeing how week over week the amount I could lift was increasing. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe that I can, I'm 5'3", I'm not tall. I can lift this heavy weight. And that helped me to stay motivated. I also think I just always like having a goal, right? That goal out there of like, I'm going to put the best version of me on that stage. And so, there were times it was hard going on vacation or, whatever, and, enjoying, but also trying to be mindful. Was always hard. So I think between my coaches and really just wanting to put my best self out there really kept
Yeah.
me motivated.
Good. And then going into the next prep after an improvement season, was it easier? Was it harder? What was that like?
Yeah. So that prep actually went great. We decided to do a longer prep this time. So it was much slower progress, which I think really helped a lot, because at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is a really long time to prep. But because I was still able to eat so much and really maintain and still keep lifting heavy weights and keeping that muscle mass, it was the best prep that I've had.
Oh,
It was
wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, every other prep, I think I would have a struggle of, oh, I can, you have those, everyone has those days, right? Can I do this? Okay, here we go. I'm tired, I'm working all these crazy hours and then going to the gym and then still meal prepping and all of that. But that prep, I don't know, it couldn't have gone better. And I was still eating quite a bit by the time, a lot more than any other competition prep that I was right up to the time I competed. So that was
Yeah.
a pleasure.
That's, I mean, it sounds logical. I mean, it sounds, you took time off, your body was rested, you
Right?
had the best prep ever. Interesting. That makes so much sense. But we don't want to believe it, because sometimes you get stuck and you're just like, oh, one more. 3 months. Oh, I don't want to do a year. I don't want to sit out. I don't have FOMO. All my friends are in the shows. But you just proved like time off does your body good. And so now like you don't have to be scared to take the time off to make the improvements and you know, you got your goal. And so what was that like as far as that like show when you got on stage? What was different?
Well, it was interesting because it was a year off. I decided to do two competitions back to back, like weekends. And so I just wanted to get out there. I would need to get like, I wanted to get out there, and I ended up doing really well and met some great women. And then the Battle of the Gods is the competition where I earned my pro card. And after having such a good prep, being on stage again, I was like, I've got this. I felt so good. I was not tired. It really, I can't even describe how good it felt. And I think just getting there and having my coach backstage and the women that I'm meeting and talking to, and I'm like, this is why I do it. I'm meeting all these amazing women that I still keep in touch with today. And that's really, I couldn't have been more confident
Yeah.
and proud of kind of where I was at that moment in time.
Mhm. So when they are doing like, were you aware of what was happening? Like when it was happening, like on stage when they were, announcing that like you earned your pro status, like was there any shock when it actually happened?
Well, I will say, I mean, it was a very competitive bikini group. I swear every competition I go into, it seems more and more competitive. I'm like, where are all these women coming from?
Yeah.
Which is great. And I love to see that because I love empowering other women. But I remember the woman that I was posing off against, she was amazing. And we were backstage and we were like holding each other's hands and like, good luck, good luck. And then all of a sudden I heard my name and I'm like, wow, I just heard my name. I can't believe I actually did this in 35 plus, like as a 53-year-old woman. So I think
Yeah.
it felt great.
Oh my gosh, I love this. So taking what you've learned into now this year, right? So it sounds like you're wiser going into this show about what to expect. So what is your goals like long term with competing, or like what is the plans like outside of really just placing? Like what are you hoping to accomplish with competing?
Well, I think I still can't believe that I earned it. I really can't. I just got the actual card in the mail the other day. I'm like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. Um, I I would just love to keep meeting more people, like more like-minded people. I really enjoy that part of the competing. Obviously, like you said, I would love to place. But I know that the competition, I've been to a pro competition before, and I know that it's going to be really, really tough. But I just like having the goals out there to like keep improving and trying to better myself, not just physically, but mentally, right? How mentally strong you can be is it's pretty amazing what you learn about yourself through this whole process, because I've always been a very strong, independent woman, but I don't think I ever realized that I could do as much as I've done, as far as competing, whether it's being okay with eating more. And sometimes it's, as hard as it is to lose weight, it's hard to gain weight. It's hard to eat more. You get so full. So I think, just I'd like to, continue to learn more about me and what I'm capable of, and just continue that mental and physical strength as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you're saying it's hard to eat more. It's hard to eat more after clean stuff, right? It's not like we're eating like donuts. It's hard to eat a lot of clean food. When you're actually trying to build muscle, the amount of food it takes to build muscle, it's a lot. There's many times where I'm like, I don't want to eat chicken and rice again. Like just anything else. I do not want this. And it's kind of weird. It's like you go from one season of just wishing you had more, right? In prep, you're like, oh my gosh, I would give anything to have a little extra rice right now, please. And then you get into the improvement season, you start actually eating clean. You're like, oh, what in the world? I am so full. This is hard. It is really hard. Like to do. I mean, both sides are hard. It's hard to be hungry and it's hard to, force yourself to eat a ton of clean food in order to, put it to use in the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the protein, the amount of protein. So you get really creative of like, how else can I get protein without having to eat chicken, fish? You
Yes.
know,
Yeah, I mean, muscle building isn't easy. Everyone would just walk around jacked if it was easy to get enough protein and to have muscles. And so that's something that, you realize and you see, oh, it must be easy to build muscle. And then you actually start from year to year. You're like, okay, it is very hard to put on size, like good size from one show, even taking a year off. It's like, okay, I really have to be strategic. I really have to push hard to make those improvements. So looking back on your journey, is there any, I don't know, like little tips and tricks that you've learned for yourself through training or through nutrition of like anything that helps you?
sure. I think, well, meal prep is key. I think if I didn't meal prep on the weekends, I would never be able to stick to what I needed to eat. So as hard as it is to get into that routine, you get really good at it, and it doesn't take a lot of time. I think that scares a lot of people that I talk to, like, oh, but meal prep is so long and so hard. Like it is, but then you get, your fun staples, and you can make them really, really, really quickly. So I think making sure you meal prep is really important. And then really playing around with different types of recipes and spices, and because you really can make your food taste good. I think it was so funny. I remember talking to one woman, she's like, all I've had is chicken and broccoli. I'm like, I wouldn't have made it if that's all I could have had to
Oh,
eat. And you really can eat a lot of different types of foods. You just have to be mindful about what you're eating, but it can taste really good. And I think that's one of the things, my friends that don't compete or don't understand this whole process, we would go out to dinner, and the bread would be put down in front of us and in front of me, and they'd grab it and say, "Oh, you're not eating that." I'm like, "What do you mean? Of course I'm eating that. Like, give me a piece of bread."
Yeah.
So I think, that to me is also important, is you need to also live your life, and you can figure out ways, even when you're in that final prep, to go out with your friends and to have quote unquote a life, how a lot of people put it. You just have to be cognizant of what you're eating and plan for it, but you can absolutely enjoy your life. I mean, that's why we're here. We need to enjoy
Yeah.
our lives.
Yeah, I love that too because competing, it can be extreme if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. You can make your prep as hard or difficult and chicken and broccoli it every day and make it challenging, and that's not really going to be fun. And it's not going to be easy to maintain like long term. Or you can do a little more flexible. It's like, okay, I can still have foods I like in moderation. I can still go out to the restaurant. I can still make healthy choices. It's just, you got to make your priorities. You can make anything work. It's not super fun to go out to the restaurant and say, no, like close to the end, if you have to say no to the desserts and the alcohols and everything and all the appetizers and all the fun things, but it's very doable. Like you can do it for a limited amount of time. The reality is like, prep isn't that long. It feels long, but it's really not. It's a blip in if you were when you really look back at it, it goes by so quick. So if you can just adhere and stick to yourself and just realize it is going to be hard, but it is doable. You can still have a life. You'll just be a little bit tired as long as you prioritize getting your workout done. And it does make you, I think it makes me realize like that every decision does kind of have consequence, whether it's good or bad. And you could go out and you could adhere to your prep. You could go out and just be like, oh, once isn't gonna hurt. Once isn't gonna hurt. And then when by the time like you're gonna probably struggle to get lean, you won't be lean enough. And you'll be like, oh, and you don't really realize that until the very end. At the
Mhm.
end, you see, oh my gosh, all these girls look amazing and they must have not have said yes at the restaurant. Now I did. Oh, I regret that. So until you get to the end, you really don't understand like, okay, it does make an impact. Being adhering to your diet does make an impact in your training for that whole entire time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, another thing that's really important is having the right support system. Right. And, I mentioned I've met so many incredible women in all of my competitions, and I still keep in touch with them, many of them. And whether it's your coach, who of course is going to be there to support you, but just having, like you were mentioning earlier, someone to just text and say, "I am not feeling it today. Remind me why I'm doing this. I just need someone to understand what's happening with me today." Even a couple of days ago, I did not want to do my workout at all. I like procrastinated going to the gym. I'm like, what are you doing? Just go and get it done. You're going to feel better afterwards. And I finally just did it. But there are many days that, especially early on when you're starting out, I think it's so important to have that support system. And like you were just saying, like, it's so easy to say, I'll just skip it this one time, or I'll just have that cake this time. But having someone to help you and just remind you why you're doing it and say, you got this, you can do it. It's hard, but you can do hard things. And I think
Yeah.
that's super helpful.
It is. It is great to build that support system through your competing journey. So you'll have fans and, your friends are your biggest fans and, you can turn to them and they can turn to you. And it is nice. Like the days where you procrastinate getting that workout in or the lift or whatever, you're like, oh my gosh, usually those are the best workout days. Like it's every time. Every time you don't want to go, you end up going. You're like, wow, I'm really proud that I went. That was a great session. Now that I'm here, I really want to like give it my all because just getting in the door was the hardest battle. And so now that I'm here, let's just do it. And I swear, it's just the process of getting to the gym is the hardest. Once you're there, kind of like autopilot lip kicks in and then it's exciting. Like, okay, now I have my workout and I'll go here and da da da. And you just start doing it. But just the process of getting yourself to do it and get in the habit of doing it, you'll never regret a workout, even if it's not the best one.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so is there a final piece of advice that you could leave us with for a new competitor that's thinking about doing it, but that's not exactly sure if they want to compete yet?
Sure, absolutely. I would say if you're even thinking about it, you should just do it. Do it once. Just try it. There are so many great things out there online, and like this podcast I think is great, getting to, people to hear from people that have gone through it, right? And reach out. I have reached out randomly to people, and they are so helpful. On there's so many groups out there, and if you're thinking about it, you should absolutely do it. Understand the process. I think one of the craziest processes for me was the tan. Even just like understanding the tan, I'm like, what is happening,
The
But
tan
I
is
say
crazy.
absolutely do it.
Yeah. I love that. Well, let's quickly just, since it is one of the things that it's a big, oh my gosh, what do you mean I have to be tan? That tanning process is it's weird. It is weird. It is weird if you're not used to it. If you're getting sprayed for the first time, you're gonna go in, you're gonna be in a tent full of people, a random stranger is going to come up, you're naked in the tent, and they're just all right, here, stand in the fan, and you're just, you're fully exposed in front of a fan, in front of strangers you've never met, like, hi, how you doing? To, hi. It's a great bonding experience when you're just all like just all sticky in your tan and you're around the fan and you're just okay. This is how it works. I guess I'm here. I guess I'm doing it. It is difficult, but you have to get that dark, awful stage tan to get your definition to show up on stage. It's what I hate getting tan, but it is really important to make you look good on stage. That is just something just to keep in mind that it is kind of a shocking fact the first time that you get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And our final question, so are you team cupcake or are you team protein shake?
Team cupcake.
Yes. Okay. And then favorite flavor, or if you could be a cupcake, what would that be?
Oh my gosh. I would have to say red velvet because I love cream cheese frosting.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you for coming on and getting to share your story. I'm excited to see how this year goes for you and that you accomplished everything that you set out to.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Of course.